Hello everybody, what is up? Welcome to my channel if you are new here, and welcome back if you're not. Today's video is very exciting to me because I love books, so let's just jump into it. I read around 30 books this year, and I wanted to show you guys what some of my favorites were. Some of these are 5-star reads, some are not. They would be like 4 or 4.5 region, but these are my top 10, maybe 11 favorite books of this year. I did have 4 5-star reads this year, and I want to go ahead and start with them. The first one is my favorite book of all time, probably, and this is a reread technically, and I listened to this on audiobook because I've been getting into those this year. This is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. Her writing is a little bit controversial in the book world, but let's be honest, what isn't controversial in the book world? She is the queen of a slow burn romance. I'm talking, this book is almost 600 pages, and they don't really get together till the last few chapters. Like, that's what I'm talking about, okay? Slow burn. This is about a football player and his assistant. She worked for him for about 2 years and had other dreams that she wanted to pursue, and finally his other manager and him just kind of were not very nice to her, and so she quit. And then a couple months later he shows up on her doorstep asking to marry her. This is very much grumpy ex sunshine. There's definitely some of those protective tropes. It's a fake marriage trope, or I guess not fake, but marriage of convenience tropes, which personally I love those. So if you want a slow burn book, I 100% recommend this is the first one that you read. And then there are so many other Mariana Zapata books that I love as well, but this will always just be top tier for me. This will always be 5 stars. Also, I'd like to point out, I read for the vibes, okay? I read for the vibes, I read for the plot. I don't, that's it. I am not a critic here. Now, the next 2 books are also rereads, and they are part of the same series. You know that I love this series. This is the ACOTAR series. So the 2 books that I rate 5 stars in this series are A Court of Mist and Fury and A Court of Wings and Ruin. I know a lot of people don't love this book as much as this one, but I loved this book. The politics and the war, everything going on with the war in this book is amazing. There were so many plot twists that I did not see coming. This book, one of the pages absolutely destroys you. This one is also just so good. It's so good. If you guys don't know about these books, don't listen to me rambling on about them. Just go pick them up and learn for yourself what they are, because I could talk about them for hours. So I've actually re-listened to the first 4 books in the series, but these are the 2 that I will say are 5 stars. And tip, if you're gonna listen to the audiobooks of these, 100% listen to the dramatized and graphic audiobooks. It's literally a full production. Every single character has a different voice actor. There's music, there's sound effects. It's insane. I blend in with my wall right now. I need I need to figure something out because I'm the same color. Anyways, my last 5-star read of this year, I honestly thought I read this last year. Looking at the books that I read in the first few months this year, I thought I read them so long ago. But that is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I have not read the other 2 books in this series. I do have the second one. This was the first Frida McFadden book that I have read, and so far it is my favorite book from her that I have read. There are just so many plot twists in this. I was not expecting it to change perspectives halfway through the book. This is about a woman named Millie who just got out of prison, and she is trying to kind of start over, and she decides that she could clean houses for a living just to kind of get a start, and she starts working for the Winchester family. It's a family of a mom, dad, and a daughter, and it seems like the mom is crazy. She just makes messes all of the time just to watch Millie clean them up. She seems so bipolar, and then the husband is just this really nice guy who seems like he really just has to put up with this person, and the daughter is also kind of crazy, so it seems like she takes after her mom. The prologue of this book really hooked me. I read this probably less than 24 hours. This one was just a quick read. It was good. It was really good. 5 stars. Now, these next 6 books, I would not rate 5 stars, but they still were in the top 10 books of the year, and these are in no particular order. This is actually the very first book that I read this year. It is called The Safest Lies by Megan Miranda. I've heard of this author before, and I've had this book for a while, and I just had never really picked it up. And before I bought new books this year, I wanted to just kind of read some that I had. So I read this one. This one is a very fast-paced book, 357 pages. and everything that happens in those pages happens in the span of like 48 hours. So it's very fast paced. I got through this in like maybe 2 sittings. It's definitely like a YA thriller. It's about a girl named Kelsey whose mother has not been outside of their house in 17 years. And Kelsey doesn't really know exactly why. She knows that she's kind of like scared of what could happen if she leaves the house. But one day Kelsey gets in a car accident and it's all over the news, and then the next day her mother just disappears. And so they kind of have to figure out where her mother went and what is happening. And there's a little bit of romance in this book, and there's some friendships, and it's just kind of like it's just a very fast-paced YA thriller, and I was eating it up. I'm gonna be honest. I bought this book specifically for the cover. This, I think, is the most beautiful cover I've ever seen on a book ever. I've never read anything by Abby Jimenez before I read this book. I will say this is in a 3-part series that I did not know about, so I did have to kind of look up the characters in this book and get a little bit of background, because there are characters in there that I could like tell I should have known who they were. This is a romance book, but honestly, I think it is so much more than that. The main character, Emma, is so aloof and honestly has like a lot of issues with her mom and just kind of grew up with a lot of childhood trauma. That's like a huge theme throughout this book. And then the other main character is Justin, and Justin is amazing, but Justin also is struggling with a lot of family things, and he has to maybe take on a lot of responsibilities in the upcoming future. This does have like kind of a little meet cute in it. I was not expecting this book to kind of touch on some of the like heavier topics that it did. One of the reasons though that I love this book so much is both of the characters, Emma and Justin, cope and are struggling with things the way that real people do. I just thought there was a lot of rawness in this book. If you are an acts of service girly, you definitely need to read this book. You will definitely relate, I feel like. This is a dual point of view. There's a lot of like family aspects in this book. There's romantic relationships, friendship relationships. There's just a lot that is kind of covered in this book that I was not expecting when I picked it up, and I would definitely recommend it if you are looking for a romance that like has some like rawness and like real aspects in it. This one was very, very close to a 5 stars for me, just because I was expecting it to just be like a cutesy little romance, and it wasn't, and I liked that. This next book is a silly little book that I found at Barnes & Noble that I decided I was gonna read. It is Gone for Gouda. I love cheese. Like, that's just something, I just love cheese, okay? Everyone who knows me knows that. And this book says it's a cheese shop mystery, and actually my sister-in-law found this while we were at Barnes & Noble and pointed it out, and I was like, yeah, obviously I have to read that. So this is about a lady who lives in a small town and almost like a Hallmark town. She runs a cheese shop called Curds and Whey. Now actually this is also the 2nd book in a like kind of standalone series that I did not know about. So this is the only book that I've read in it. This person just kind of keeps finding herself amidst murders that are happening in this town, and so it's definitely like a murder mystery, how she solves the murder and how she's involved with it. It was just kind of a fun little book to pick up and read. I had no prior expectations for this book, and I think that's why I liked it so much. If you're looking for just like a cozy mystery thriller, this is definitely a good recommendation. Because I just told you guys how much I love cheese, I feel like this should be the next book. This is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. This is the first book from Ali Hazelwood that I have ever read, and to be honest, the only reason I read it is because the main character's name is Elsie. That is why I picked this book up, but as I was going through the book, I realized that I could relate to Elsie in a lot more ways than just the name. First of all, she loves cheese, which is just really random. I didn't know that, but I also love cheese, and I read the book, I don't know, so random. She's also a little bit of a people pleaser, definitely suffers with some imposter syndrome, some anxiety. So this was just kind of odd how accurate this character was to my life. A lot of Ali Hazelwood books that I've seen are very like science-y, and I will say there were a lot of things in this book that I did not understand. There were a lot of terms in this book that I had to look up because it is very science-y. I know I did not explain this book very well, but it was really good, and it was just really odd how much I related to her. The second to last book in this video is Fourth Wing. Now obviously if you guys are on Book Talk at all, or kind of in the book community at all, I am sure that you have heard of this book. I have never been so devastated by the end of a book before. I've not read Iron Flame yet. That's the second book in the series. Hopefully I maybe get it for Christmas and can read it after that. I really did like the world building in this book. I like the fact that they're kind of all college students. One thing about fantasy is there's so many like huge age gaps in fantasy, but this one they were all like very similar ages, all in college. I really liked the main character in this one as well. I think she was written in a way that you could very well tell that she maybe didn't feel like she belonged in the place that she was at, but she was strong and she was going to make it through these trials that were kind of presented to her. I loved the dragon aspect. I've never really read like a dragon book before, but this was a lot of fun and I really liked the world building. And I'm excited to read Iron Flame. The very last book in this video was so good. I don't know, this one's like so close to a 5 stars for me. This is the 7-Year Slip by Ashley Polston. The main character in this book is named Clementine. At the beginning of this book, Clementine is dealing with kind of a lot of things. She's dealing with a lot of grief, and her aunt suddenly passed away. No one was really expecting it, and she inherited her apartment. She's really at a crossroads in her life. She doesn't know what to do with this apartment. She's lonely. Things at work are starting to progress that she's not sure about, and she's just at a crossroads in life. This is a romance book, but it also includes just a little bit of magic, and I loved the way that this book presented kind of the magical elements. Her aunt always told her as a child that the apartment will go back 7 years in time when you and the person who are currently there are at a crossroads in life, and you will kind of cross paths with each other and learn from each other. I also liked this book because the other main character, the man, I believe his name is Yvonne, he is a chef, and so there was a lot of like kind of food references in this book, which I really liked. But I just thought this book was just so like, it was cozy and it was magical, but it also talked about grief and kind of crossroads in your life in a way that a lot of romance books don't talk about it. And it also talked about who you are, you know, specifically 7 years ago in this book, but who you are in the past and the things that you have chosen to do in the past and the jobs that you've chosen to work at. They might not be forever, and who you are 7 years ago is not who you are today, and so your life doesn't have to look the same. This book kind of took me by surprise with how well grief and longing for your past self was talked about. The romance in the book is amazing. Like, I don't want to discredit the romance in this book at all, but I loved it because the other aspects of it were so well talked about as well. I'm sure that a lot of these books you have heard of before, and maybe you guys have read them before. Let me know in the comments if you have. There might have been some in there as well that you have never heard of. Again, I truly recommend all of these books. Honestly, guys, I have been in a reading slump since about September. I am finally excited to start reading again, and remembering all of these books and the like feelings and emotions that they brought me really makes me want to pick up another book again. I hope that maybe my video inspired you guys to read some more, or kind of got you out of that reading slump, maybe gave you some new recommendations. Be sure to comment down below what your 5-star reads of the year were. I am always looking for new book recommendations, and thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in my next one. Bye!